It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
This is the Chronicles of with Lydia Manson. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Well, write, design, and publish a comic with my ass, boys. Welcome to #WBW, Way Back Wednesday. And these are the Chronicles of Geoff Nicholson. Why Geoff this week, Jamie?
Why Geoff this week? Because we haven't got many left.
Yeah, that's true.
It's pretty much the only reason, though, to be honest.
So, Geoff, basically what he's saying there, Geoff, is he's put you right at the fucking end. He's like, oh, well, we'll just put the dribs and drabs out now.
Too right. Let's just get the last little dribs and drabs, as he said. Let's scrape the barrel for the end. No, Geoff is incredible. We loved this interview. This is one of our early ones.
This is an early one. I met Jeffrey when I was 15 years old at a little place called Haven Holidays. And we became masters of the dance machine, I remember, for a week. It's good fun. But Geoff is a good mate, lives in Scotland. He runs the Brewgooders Podcast, all about beers and comics. And he obviously has his own comic called The Spirit of Enki.
What I love is, obviously, when we do this conversation, as you'll hear all about Spirit of Enki, the comic, but it's sort of moved on a little bit now. Spirit of Enki is the publication of everything, because it's not just Spirit of Enki now. He's also got another book out called Geoff and the Juniors, which is like all about football, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So go on to his Kickstarter and go give him a little bit of support with that one.
Absolutely. And he has obviously been around at a lot of Comic Cons in Scotland as well. I believe they did a Scottish World Comic Book Day. Sorry, I was trying to burp. It's because I wanted to burp and cough at the same time. I was like, that was literally what's going on. So I was trying to get the words out at the same time. Remember what I was trying to say? Put them in the right order without burping and coughing. And I failed miserably. Sorry, Geoff. I do apologise. But yes, they've been involved a lot in the Scottish World Comic. Oh my God!
It's Comic Book Day.
Thank you. So yeah, go and check out the Brewgooders Podcast. Well, they are live every Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time.
Indeed, we've been guests on there before, which was an amazing time. So yeah, go check it out. It's a good listen.
I think we need to go back again, because I remember I had to cut out halfway through because my signal and my battery was shit and I couldn't get on by the laptop. So we'd like to come back on, Geoff, if you don't mind, please, right now.
And I remember I brought beer to try and look cool and be part of the show, and it was the most disgusting thing I've ever drank.
Was that the raspberry shit?
Something like that. I was like,
yeah, but
it's not good. Anyway.
Lovingly of you. If you remember the Chronicles of Hayden Cockrell a few weeks ago, Jamie brought Hayden's comic to the Brewgooders. So yeah, and you showed it to the world, and it was a grandiose time. But yeah, Geoff, thank you so much, mate. This was really good fun, and we're probably going to have to do it again since it's almost over 2 years old. Jamie,
yes, sir.
Any final words?
Massive thank you to Geoff. Everybody, go check out all of his stuff, his podcast, his books, you name it. Go check it out, and check out his amazing charity work he does as well.
Absolutely, Geoff, mate. We really appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to come and sit and chat with us. We absolutely loved it. And guys, I'd say you might enjoy this one. It is a lengthy one though. Yeah. So get it in your face, get it in your ears, and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Chronicles of Geoff Nicholson.
There's not that many. There's a few, but there's not that many superhero-themed beers, which I was trying to find. I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago about. I got invited on to talk about hobgoblins, which sounds totally bizarre. It was like it was a cool podcast about Scottish myths and legends. So I was drinking a pint of hobgoblin, which was really good. But I just grabbed a random one from the bar.
That's amazing. No, I like that. You're trying to find random beers affiliated with whatever podcast you're doing. That's pretty fucking sweet.
I like your beard, man. That's a good day.
Stop it. Fucking stop it. How are you, man? How's things? It's good to see you. I mean, people obviously can't see us, but they'll be listening to this, but still. Yeah, how's things, man? What's going on?
Yeah, all right. Is the podcast happening? Is it? Would you just?
Yes, we're away. We don't fucking shit about, mate. This is it.
Just talking absolute shit.
Pretty much how we do.
Yeah, I think things are all right. Can't complain. I think there's a lot to complain about, but I try not to. So, how are you guys?
I like that mentality, sir. I like that mentality.
I'm all good. I'm just trying to get out as much as possible at the moment. So, just to feel the fresh air on my face and breathe it in, since we've been locked in for so long. So,
have either of you actually braved going out today and the shops are open?
Oh, yeah, you guys, our shops are all still shut up here, but you guys have both.
Yeah.
Do you know why, right? It's because Scotland do things fucking properly, whereas England no, mate, I just need all the money ever in the world right now. Let's just get the economy. Fuck people. Let's just get the economy back in so we can make all the money we can possibly imagine.
I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. Like I agree with you, but I think there's a large portion of. I don't know. There's a generalisation that of an us versus them mentality when it comes to like the border with England and stuff like that. But it's not really like that up here. And there's a weird sort of combination. Yeah, there is that mentality like let's just look after ourselves. Nicola Sturgeon's got it. Let's back her up on this because she's the girl with a plan. But then there is that annoyance that also permeates society where they are wanting to. Why do we have to get shop? Why can we have our shops open? I think we're going to have we've got a slightly different. I can't remember what the plans are called. We've got a slightly different route map out of lockdown. I think I think it's going to be announced on Thursday that you can. If your business can have an outdoor area, you can open. So like pubs and restaurants that have tables outside, like beer gardens and places like that. But obviously with social distancing. So I'm looking forward to that because I'm really missing the pub, to be honest.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, I saw that the tourism industry's opened up in July as well, back up there. Whereas England have got no plan for that whatsoever, and that's what I work in. So.
So it's like a major. I'm not saying it isn't in Scotland. I'm not saying it isn't that in England, but tourism is such a massive part of our economy. I think I know I'm such an uber geek that I hold National Trust for Scotland and Historic Scotland membership, and I know that they're both struggling and I've kept my memberships on despite the fact I can't visit any of the sites, but I do know that they're. Despite opening in July, that a couple of them are having really, really, that's going to be a challenge. Particularly some of the bigger places where they're just like, how can we justify opening, like places like Bannockburn, which is just essentially a visitor centre with a huge field that commemorates a battle. They're like, can they justify opening at reduced capacity while being open for a third of capacity work? So it's hard. I mean, it's hard for everyone, but you do sort of feel. Scotland does need its tourism, I think, though. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I just want to go back to work. That's what I want to do, really.
Same.
So, Jamie, do you want to do proper introduction?
Well, I was going to say we probably should actually get the guest to actually introduce himself. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Geoff Nicholson.
Hey! Woo, woo, woo.
So, do you want to tell our lovely listeners why we brought you on the show today? So, what is it you're trying to sell to people?
What should I say? I'm not really trying. I like to chat to folk. It's totally weird doing this with Tom because I met Tom when I was like 15, and only because like obviously he's a good friend that I managed to hold on to for like 18 years, which is amazing. But we first met when we were both kind of trying to pull these girls, and
yes, we were.
Somewhere in Dorset, I think it was. Bournemouth, not Bournemouth, Dorset. I'm trying to think where it was nearby. It was a caravan park anyway, though, because that was the kind of holidays we had as teenagers. But I was trying to get on with this girl from Burnley, and her pal Tom was trying to get on with. So we were just like, oh, we can be friends trying to pull this group of friends. That's fine. That's all okay.
It all worked out for like 8 months.
I don't speak to either of the girls anymore, but Tom's hung around.
Well, we killed Dan. I think we played Dance Machine a lot. Do you remember the Dance Machine, the arrows on the floor?
Yeah,
we absolutely nailed that. I think every evening. I think that's what won him over, mate. To be honest with you,
it was a simpler time.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
It was a simpler time. Yeah, so it's nice. Thanks for having me on. I'm a podcast host myself. I host a podcast called The Brewgooders, which I like to chat to folk about because I quite like it. It's why I'm drinking beer, because we're a beer and comics podcast. So I do listen to Superhero Bar Fight because I'm comics daft and geek culture daft. So it's pretty cool. So when I saw that Jamie was looking for folk to come on a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I would love to, and then I realised after that actually it was Jamie Westwood, and it was Superhero Bar Fight he was trying to get guests for. I was like, that's amazing.
I love that you pointed out to me you knew Tom. I was like, well, he's first on the list then. Come on the show.
I just when when like the jigsaw pieces pop in, and you're like, that's amazing. And I can just try and embarrass Tom a wee bit about shite stuff we did when we were teenagers.
I mean, by all means. That's what we're
just. It's not that embarrassing though. We love that Dance Machine, and we love pro wrestling. There was actually a weird moment about 10, 12 years ago when I went down to London.
Oh my God, yes, that as well. I forgot about that.
I went into London, and the girl I was dating at the time was just really cranky. We were down at the O2. We went down to the O2 to see WWE Raw, and it was costing an arm and a leg. But I just wanted to get into the vibe. And then she was kind of nagging me in my ear, and I did kind of look across the hall, just like fuck. And then I saw Tom. I was like, no way. I was quite drunk, so I ran over and I think I took a dig in your arm to get your attention. And you turned to look at me. I may be misremembering this story, but he looked at me as if to say, "The fuck are you?" And then went, "Geoff." Brightened up my day.
I don't remember that. I remember seeing you in the O2. That was fucking mental.
We were in the queue, weren't we? We were the queue to get in, and folk were shouting "woo" quite a lot and stuff.
Oh, British people always do that. I think it's hilarious. I just remember seeing you in the queue, and then we chatted for a bit. That was, mate. How long? How was that? Was that 2008? How long ago was that now? 2007?
I think it was 2008, 7-8-ish. Yeah.
Fuck me. That's absolutely mental that I've seen you more elsewhere than either at yours or mine.
Yeah. We did sort that bit.
And not even planned.
Yeah, it wasn't. And that was what was funny about it. Yeah. Right. What were we talking about? I'm just jumping on the podcast to reminisce with Tom. Like, it's not even... I'm not...
I can't believe it. Think about asking you, because when we were talking about getting guests on, I was there going, I don't fucking know to ask. I was like, just getting some groups and it's just like asking people. I can't believe I didn't think of you. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be daft. It is pretty cool. what I thought was quite funny was when Jamie put that. That's exactly how I look for guests for our podcast, and we've had some. I don't know how big your list has grown since you put up the advert for guests. But I mean,
a hell of a lot.
But you get some really. We've for a couple of weeks now. So my podcast, the Brewgooders, we do usually when there's not a global pandemic, we will go to the pub or we'll go to various comic or beer related events and just chat to folk, or we'll go to the pub, or most of the time it will just be me and Colin sitting in a location with a couple of beers and a couple of comics that we picked up or that have been released over those weeks, and we'll just go through them and blather about. We'll grade the comics, we'll grade the beer, we'll take suggestions, all that kind of stuff, and every so often we'll ask for independent comic writers to send us some stuff if they want to be featured on the show, and we'll review them as well. What we've done for lockdown, pretty much what you guys have done, where we've just said, like, if you want to come, we hold like a drop-in session, so like, it's just open, come in, chat about your project and see where the conversation goes, and that's been really, really interesting. But we've had some really, really interesting folk over lockdown, particularly. I wrote a wee list before I jumped on with you guys because I would forget, and I was interested. Have you guys got anyone interesting coming up for you that you can talk about or that? Because as I say, when I fired out an advert, I got some really, really interesting guys back, and it's led to some really interesting chats.
I've not pegged anyone in. I've got one person we're speaking to on Wednesday, but I didn't want to pre-plan too far in advance because of everything going on with some people having to go back to work and all that sort of stuff. But I must have had about 10, 15 responses to that.
Oh, totally.
Many people lined up.
I don't know if you're allowed to tell me. Have you had any weird ones that you've had to kind of... I'm just turning my oven off. Have you had any weird ones that you've had to say, maybe in a couple of weeks in the hope that they'll bring it up again?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I won't say who, but yeah. There's a couple of them like...
We had one, and it was like I was quite excited about it. I'm quite good at doing like a wee bit of background stuff to just make sure that we've got the right kind of guest on. But I can't remember what happened last week. But this guy had very extreme views that were very at odds with mine and my co-host's views, and also the views of a large portion of the Americas right now. And we were just
what could you mean?
So we were like. This guy's maybe not a good fit for our show, and actually his comic looks really interesting, but when we kind of got an idea who this guy was, it became a bit less interesting. But like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an equivalent without being too obvious. But like trying to find out that by discovering that the newest writer of The Punisher was like a member of the KKK. It was that kind of level of uncomfortableness. So we were like, no, thank you. Hopefully he doesn't listen to yours and is like, fucking that's me they're talking about. But no, we've had some really good. We had who have we had on recently? We had Callum. Some of our sort of high profile ones are none are higher profile than the other ones, obviously. But we had Callum Laird on a couple of weeks ago. He is the former editor of Commando Comics. I don't know if you've ever read them, but when you go to like you get them all on W. Smith, and they're maybe what's the one smaller than A4, A3. It goes yeah. There's like weekly A3 comics that have been going around for years and years and years, and they usually have like war stories in them. Next time you're in like W. Smith, if you now that I've mentioned them, I remember them from being like my granddad used to read them. So they're based. They're part of DC Thompson. So the same guys that do the Beano and the Dandy up in Dundee release this weekly series called Commando Comics. So we had their former editor on, and that was pretty cool. My co-host has had a couple of stories commissioned by he's a comic writer as well. I mean, he's a more established comic writer than me, but he's got some stories that are about to be published by Commando Comics. So it was really cool to have their former editor on. I'm trying to think who else we had. We had a really cool discussion with a guy called Banksy, who is the editor of a brand new comic called The 77. So which is kind of like an homage to the old 2000 AD when it first came out.
Oh right, yeah.
So it's really cool, and you should totally check it out. And then we also had so he came on and chatted about our comic and what we were up to, what he was up to, and It's just a really cool project. You should totally check out the 77. But Banksy won't mind me saying this because he's a really good guy. But it's quite funny. We gave him the link to our. We use a studio software, so that basically what happens is it's like a virtual studio, and it's almost like you walk in and I can put you in the room, or I can move folk in and out, and it just means that we can monitor what we're streaming, but then bring in folk and drop out folk as well. It's pretty much, I don't know, overcomplicating quite a simple concept. It's like trying to explain how Google works here. What's that?
I was just enjoying watching your face, like getting yourself into this loophole of how it works. Then
it's new to me. I personally had to learn how to use it to host our show. But we gave Banksy the link, and then he was like, "Oh, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to share the Brewgooder link with people." We thought he meant because when we're streaming our show, it broadcasts live on Facebook Live. We thought that's what he meant. He was going to share the Facebook Live. But actually, he gave everybody the link to our studio. So all of a sudden, randoms started popping into like the studio that we weren't expecting. But it led to like one of one of my personal favourite interviews, because a New Zealand-based comic artist, Brendan Wright, joined us, and he is one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. And just out of total randomness, came and joined us, and he's a really fabulous artist that people should totally check out. Anyway, we had loads of folk as well. We had our local comic shop owners in last week to chat about the total issues with distribution that's been going on. DC are being not very nice, and our friend Mark Duncan has joined us as well. He's a brewer in a Fife-based brewer called Cool Brewing, who are amazing. And they do postal distribution. You should check them out. Just found them off. Fraser Campbell, we had him. He's a Scottish creator and writer. You should totally check him out. He's writing a series called Alex Automatic, which is an amazing. It's in its like fourth or fifth part now. But the gist of this series is Alex Automatic is he's a government secret weapon. Like he's just a nutcase who the government had initially programmed to be like a really efficient like super spy killer kind of like assassin, but like the hitmen guys. But the way the comic plays out in Alex's mind, and the way that Alex is able to justify his actions as he thinks he's a member of like an ITC, Thunderbirds, I'm trying to think of all these late 60s, early 70s camp British spy dramas that seem to exist. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the Americans had the Mission Impossible series. So this guy actually lives in a world where like he's on like extravagant super spy missions on fancy yachts and that. But actually, when he's in his like this world of like luxury and really amazing like sort of early James Bond like champagne and hot girls and stopping the bad guy, actually is an assassin. So it's a really odd series, but a really, really good one that everyone should check out. And I could talk about that for absolute ages. We just drink beer and talk about comics. So that's why I have my own podcast, so I don't have to go to other people's podcasts and talk at them for 20 minutes.
What gave you the... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Jerry.
I was going to say...
start podcasting, like just wanting, just like, fuck it, I want to talk about comics and I want to talk about beer forever.
Well, as I say, we have in Dunfermline, which is where I live. It's the town that I live in and have grown up in, or near. We have a really awesome comic book shop called the Little Shop of Heroes, and I've been a customer in there for a long time. And so was Colin, who's my co-host. And then I'm trying to think, it was January last year. We started the podcast in March last year. So we were just under doing 52 episodes ourselves. But when we first round about the January last year, 2 doors down in the same corner of Dunfermline, a craft beer shop opened up. So me, Colin, and probably hundreds of other folk in the Dunfermline area were going into the comic shop, picking up our comics, and then walking 2 doors down, and then getting the beer that we would, the beer to drink while we're reading our comics, because they do really, really complement each other. And I think Tom was laughing at me just as I joined in, but I'd always try to find a beer to match the occasion. But so we thought it would be interesting to try and do that as a podcast concept where we critiqued comics and beer over an hour. We try and keep it below an hour because any more than an hour, and anybody that's seen some of our lockdown episodes where it stretches to an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, the last 45 minutes are fucking nonsense because we're because we start to trip over our words and talk absolute crap. So but that's where the idea came from. Two really awesome shops with really awesome owners, 2 doors down, and me and my friend who had been on podcasts in the past together and thought, let's just venture out on our own and see where this goes. And it's been good fun. So,
I mean, I know you said I laughed at you, but I actually thought it was a genius concept to be like, well, whatever show I'm going on, I'm going to find a beer to match that.
It's just an excuse to drink beer.
Exactly.
Drives my wife nuts, to be honest. Like just random shit, like beer just all over the place.
It is a great idea though, because there's a million fucking podcasts out there these days, and it's finding your niche. It's finding that thing that makes you individual. So to be able to find something that is like that is unique. It's fucking well done. Fair play to you. It's a really good idea.
I totally agree with that. I mean, you guys have got your niche as well. I really like that concept that you guys have pulled in. It's just because like you say, there's millions. My pet hate, and I'm trying to think of what I'm going to Google it because I'm trying to think of what the example is. Was it Ed Gambon, who's like a really awesome comedian on he does a lot of the stuff on the BBC. He's usually a talking head and stuff, and he's usually on which he's on what's the show, the political one that Darren O'Brien hosts?
Mock the Week.
Yeah, Mock the Week. He's on that quite a lot. Him and another guy that are always on Mock the Week have a podcast where they review food. It's called Off Menu with Ed Gamble and James Acaster. It's really, really popular. But I think it's just they have a 3-course meal and chat about stuff. And I find the food aspect of their chat really restrictive. I don't know if it's just because I'm used to listening to them doing a lot of satire on the telly or in their actual their stand-up routines. But it's trying to think but then it's a really popular podcast, and we've only got like 400, 500 listeners a week, so I shouldn't really be ripping on guys who've got like the hundreds of thousands of weekly listens, But it's just finding niche, and that's what's amazing. I think that's amazing about podcasting. You can just go in like I've got a few podcasts I listen to that probably have no more than a couple of thousand views, but listens a week. But I'm one of them, and I love it. So it's a really awesome wee forum, to be honest. I don't know. I was talking to Jamie about this earlier in the week. What I'm finding quite challenging is getting the time for podcasts. I do a lot of driving in my job between different villages and different areas of West Fife, and that's when I do my podcasting. And I think that's I found with lockdown, I can't really listen to my podcast anymore, and I've maybe got like 5 or 6, and they're still happening because the podcasters have got the time to put the content out there, but like I've just not got the time to listen to it, which is quite challenging.
Mark Maron, a really famous American comedian, was on Russell Howard back in May and said that even he, with his millions of he said even he is struggling for people at the moment. So I think it's just a global thing, because I haven't listened to anything other than USUK stuff mainly for fucking ages. So yeah, I totally get that, man. I
think We've noticed on our show that there's been an increase in the folks. So the format of ours is that we'll do the live video thing on Facebook, or we'll record something and post it up. But then I'll also fire an audio out there, and our video numbers are way up because folk are in their house watching stuff, so they're way up by our standards. But our audio is really low by our standards. Usually, our audio and video are kind of level normally during like the normal sort of times, but our videos have gone up and our audio's come right down. It's just fascinating. Like it's all the weird things that this COVID thing is totally addressed. Like we have this weird sort of it's quite interesting. I work in a high school, so we spend quite a lot of time having to look at like how COVID affects individuals, and it's the only thing I think ever in like the history of anything that I can remember where like everybody's affected. And like when you're, in particular in that sort of decision-making process, when you're having to reintroduce things like, you know, say the schools are closed, but across the world, we're trying to work out how to reintegrate children into the big buildings. It affects everything because it's like you've got the school building, but that's one issue. You've got lunchtime, that's another issue. You've got the school bus, that's another issue. You've got the break, you know, that gap in time between periods, that's another issue. You've got home learning. It just affects everything. But then that's just my wee micro world of school. You know, obviously you guys have got completely different sets of A, B, C, D's, E's, and F's that you're total panicked about. So, Tom, you're saying you just want to get back to work, you know? So
yeah. Before I start smacking me against the wall every day, just so I can feel something.
But yeah, so. I have found that COVID though has totally been awesome for my creativity. Like, I think the other thing I wanted to try and plug to you was my comic, which I'm going to get because I wasn't sure if you were audioing and videoing. So apologies for anybody that has that is listening to this in their ear holes, because I know Tom can see me. I think Jamie, can you see us? Yeah,
I can see you. You just can't see me.
So my other wee project is this is my comic that I wrote. I wrote last year, but I was able to finish it and get it coloured and all that jazz during lockdown. This is called. I was obviously during the podcast. I've been in hanging around with Colin all the time, talking to a lot of folk about comic books and stuff like that. And I actually thought last summer I'm going to write something and see what happens. I wrote the Spirit of Enki, which is which at the time I thought was like the most amazing, you know, when you've got your own idea and you run with it and stuff like that. I thought it was the most amazing original thing ever. However, I do read loads of comics, and I've just started reading. I've not started reading it, but the Avengers ongoing series has moved into an arc about Moon Knight, and I'm seeing. I don't know a lot about Moon Knight, but I'm seeing a lot of similarities in my story and the origin. Which is doing my nut in a wee bit, because I know Moon Knight's going to have his own series on Disney Plus, I think, in the next couple of years.
There is rumors of it, yeah. Yeah,
so I can just see this series coming out, and people go when I'm sitting at conventions in a couple of years' time trying to shill copies of Enki, they're like, "Oh, so it's a bit like Moon Knight."
You just take it the other way. You go, well, if you liked Moon Knight, you're gonna like
that's a big thing in Comic Cons is what folk do. Like, and you could actually, I've noticed a lot, obviously, because I interview a lot of comic guys at comic conventions, but they have like it's Blade Runner meets thinking Shaun the Sheep. You know, like they've all got like they've all got
you've just sold me a book.
Like, we need to make it. How would Blade Runner meet Shaun the Sheep work?
I have no idea, but I want to watch it. I want to read it rather.
But that's the whole podcast. Not the whole podcasting. That's the whole Comic-Con thing. And I've not got mine yet because it came out during lockdown. It came out in April. The Spirit of Enki. And there's probably won't be a Comic-Con this side of the new year. So I'm going to have to sit on these books until at least January, February before I can start attending cons. But yeah, when you go to conventions, that's the chat you get with pretty much every comic writer. They're like, you know, they'll talk about their story. Oh, it's a post-apocalyptic, blah blah blah, you know, blah blah. If you like, and then they'll fire off like, if you like Time Cop, if you like, I've been watching a lot of 80s movies now and random shit. So if you like Time Cop, you like Blade Runner, you like Total Recall, you will love this. And then that's pretty much it. And you have like maybe a minute with your with the folk that are walking from table to table, and you just need to hope that they think, oh, that sounds cool. And that's how like grassroots comic selling works. But that was my other project. What have you guys been doing during lockdown? What's your?
I was just going to say, so the book's called The Spirit of Enki.
Yeah.
What's the book actually about?
Okay, so it's about. I can read the back of the book. I'm not, because I wrote it and I cringe when I read it now. But it's about an archaeological dig in Iraq where there's obviously this ongoing threat with militants in the area, and it's a man and a woman who are, it's Clyde, this guy here, and Daria. So Daria's an archaeologist working in this ancient Babylonian temple, and Clyde is an American former army captain dude who's there as private security. The rest of the archaeologists and staff and all those folk, they've cleared the area and are right at the start of the comic. They're fleeing the area as there's been reports that a group of scary militant dudes with AKs are like in the area and they don't take prisoners and all this sort of stuff. So it's a really dangerous area. However, Daria, the female protagonist, she's insistent that she wants to stay and finish off what she's digging, which is kind of a mysterious thing that I don't really want to go into because no one will read the comic if I tell you. So she's trying to find this thing, and then Clyde's trying to convince her to leave before things get really hairy, but he's also insisting that he won't leave her because that would be a dereliction of his duty and things like that. And then things go a bit barmy. There's an ongoing joke that people seem to a lot of people seem to quite like. There's an ongoing joke about Raiders of the Lost Ark and how she's not seen it and he has, and all this weird stuff keeps happening. And he's like, "Oh man, this is proper Raiders stuff," and she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And then things just got a bit bizarre, and then there's a superhero aspect to it as well. So yeah.
Where did you get the idea from?
Just being a total comic nerd. So that is the Spirit of Enki there. That's not a spoiler because
I was going to mention that. I was going to say the art is great. I especially like the look of the Spirit. I saw that on the Kickstarter page. The Spirit, I love the look of it. That was
actually I love it as well. And shout out to my artist George. So I wrote it and I coloured it. And a shout out to Jordan JC, who is my writer. He's a really awesome dude. He's a Venezuelan national who now lives in Madrid. He's just a really good dude. I saw some of his work online. He wasn't getting any work because he was studying in Madrid at the time and didn't have a portfolio. And I think he was just he's quite young. I think he's in his late teens. I think he was just looking for an opportunity to try and do something. And I could see on these comic creation Facebook pages and stuff, folk kept getting back to him and being like, "Oh, go make a portfolio and come back, and then I might consider you to be my artist." And then so when I was looking for an artist, I was just like, actually, it's maybe how are you supposed to develop a portfolio if no one gives you an opportunity to try and develop? So I hope. I have seen him apply for other work and do commissions, and he is using stuff from Spirit of Enki as his portfolio. But it does make you think. All those I spent a lot of time when I was younger, like in and out of job interviews, and the amount of times your folk were saying, "Oh, we would love to have you on board, but you just don't have the experience." And I was like, "Well, actually, you only get experience if somebody gives you the opportunity to do the task." So I gave Jordan that. I hope I gave Jordan that opportunity. And I think he's done a really good job. I did the colouring because colouring is really expensive. I did the colour inside, I should add as well. I did the colour. I didn't do the colour on the cover. That was done by an amazing artist called Hernan Gonzalez. And but yeah, the artist fees aren't sorry, this is maybe giving away how comic all the comic creators and writers of the world are like fucking sharp. But actually,
this is the shit we like to hear about. It's good.
Yeah, well, most people when you're applying for folk to draw and colour your comic for you, they all act different artists of different styles and different experience, and they all have different rates. And then depending on how much, if you just want like a basic set of pencils, it'll cost you A, and then your second tier is like them to ink it for you, and then if they colour it for you, it's and it can for like crazy amounts. Like I think it's Marvel. It's something somebody told me recently. It's something like $150 to $200 a page that an artist gets cut, but then that's their full-time job. The artists in Marvel, that's what they do for a living. So actually, when you cut that back, if you're sitting on Avengers as your main title, as colorist of Avengers, that's your full-time job. And so $150 a page probably levels out at, most comics are 23 to 28-ish pages long, I think, ish.
Something like that,
yeah, something like that. So when you do the maths and you think about tax and stuff like that, it's a full-time job. So that's maybe fair enough. But and as I say, when you're looking for colorists to come and work on your comic, I couldn't afford them. I think the cheapest is because it's a full-time job. So like a colorist would say, I'll do. I think the cheapest I maybe got was about $40 a page, which is a really good rate. It's a phenomenal rate, but my comic's 32 pages long, so that was coming in at whatever the mass of that is, like £1,200 and something pounds. And totally worth it. And actually, I thought, well, I'm going to colour it myself, and it took me forever. And I totally understand why colorists, and if probably the weakest element of my comics, the colouring, because it was done by me, and I'm not a professional colorist. It was just try my best. And then I got I called in a favour with Colin, who is probably Colin Maxwell is my letterer, who is my co-host on the podcast. He is also the shadow editor and story editor, art editor, thinking, Geoff, that's a stupid idea, take that page out, that kind of stuff. that role's uncredited, but I had a really awesome team of folk that were really working hard to try and make it happen, and it's all printed and it's ready. It's you can buy it. I think it's the Spirit of Enki at bigcartel.com is my Facebook page, not my Facebook page, my shop page. But you can Google the Spirit of Enki, and it's like the first thing that come up.
Is it? Sorry. Let's say, is it a singular story, or is it gonna?
No, I've written it as in my head. I've written it as a movie. Issue 2 and 3 are at various stages of being written, and I hope to get them. I didn't want to go down the Kickstarter route for every episode. That's quite common, and initially I was quite anxious about going, right, thank you for enjoying issue 1. Issue 2 is not out yet, because I find the Kickstarter process is quite weird. I think for people that don't understand it, I mean, I don't know about you guys, I use Kickstarter quite a lot, and I put a lot of money on various projects quite often, and then you get weird parcels like 6 months later that you forget about, and then a comic comes to your door and you're like, oh yeah, I backed that like in January, that's amazing. And it's a really but as somebody that's writing to their comics, I understand that, but a lot of it, as you can imagine, I've got a cool backers page, and then my back page, I mean, I was backed by quite a lot of people.
Oh, wow.
Everyone here is somebody that put in a bit of money towards a Kickstarter scheme, but you are going out there and going, guys, I want you to pay for something that doesn't exist yet. And I found that quite, so when I did issue 1, I was quite anxious not to ask for, I was quite anxious not to go through that process for issues 2, 3, or whatever. I've got in my mind, it might go longer, it might go shorter. But I think Spirit of Enki season 1's maybe 6 issues long, which is relatively standard in comics anyway. I was quite anxious not to request Kickstarters for issues 2 and 3, but then I've realised through lockdown and since the release of issue 1 that I now have, like, it kind of has worth. Does that make sense? It exists.
Yeah.
So there is proof that this is a project that exists and will continue to be ongoing. It's in many ways, I'm no longer an unknown gamble within that sort of sphere of Kickstarter. Geoff Nicholson, Spirit of Enki, that's a thing that already exists. It was a successful Kickstarter. So I think issue 2, maybe July-ish, I might fire out another wee Kickstarter. Not as much as my first one in terms of like the money I'd request. And actually, for anyone that does a Kickstarter, I deliberately made my Kickstarter as long as possible, which was like 60 days, thinking 60 days would be a really good time for the money creeping up. But anybody that does a Kickstarter will tell you that you have your best days on the first couple of days and then the last couple of days. So I had this weird thing where I had maybe 40-50% of my goal in the first week or two, and then it crept up very slightly, and then it sat just above. Like, I was funded about 25 days before the end of the Kickstarter, but it was like by a couple of pound. So there was this weird thing, and there's a thing in Kickstarter where people decide that you get a reminder 2 days before a Kickstarter finishes if you've like clicked that you're interested, and then what happens there is it reminds people that they've backed something, so they can go, oh, I want to continue this, or it also reminds folk that this project still exists and you've backed it, and they can go, oh, I'm not really wanting to back that anymore. So I had this weird kind of like thing where it was, as I say, it was tiny, the amount that I was over by, and I sat for like 3 weeks just with nobody investing, nobody putting any money in for like the longest time, and it was actually quite scary, because I was like, it just takes 2-3 folk to say, I don't really want to back this anymore, for me not to be funded. But then I had a nice wee boost right at the end, which was cool, and I was funded by, I think, maybe 10-20% more than my goal target. So again, talking at you for 10 minutes to basically say I'm going to do a small amount and amount of time and a small amount of money Kickstarter in July to try and get issue 2 done. I hope, like, I watch and read a shitload of superhero stuff, and I'm that geek who'll watch a film at the cinema, then go home and read all the reviews about it to see I really enjoyed that, but I wonder what other people are thinking. For example, I really loved Captain Marvel. I think Captain Marvel is one of the stronger MCU movies. I really, really enjoy it, actually, and it hits all the beats I want it to, including that really awesome, I love that fight scene that plays to Just a Girl by No Doubt. That's a really awesome wee scene.
That's amazing, yeah.
I love that, but so I came home total bouncing, and I remember messaging my pal Craig, who's my go-to for, what did you think of that film? I just saw it, what did you think? And he was like, I hated Captain Marvel, and he still hates Captain Marvel. And he'll debate, it's quite a nice debate to have with him, like, why do you hate Captain Marvel so much? But it's personally, so I as I say, I think I've read a lot and seen a lot that I've got 6 issues planned in my mind and where it's going to go. It's quite cheesy, because I haven't learned how to not be cheesy in my writing yet, but I also hope that I've seen enough, that I've kind of taught myself how a story should play out and what are all the emotional beats that you should hit. And there was a weird thing. Let me bring this up, because I talked about this the other day to somebody else. There was a weird thing. I don't know if you guys watch like Flash and Arrow and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Massively behind, but yeah.
There was a weird bit halfway through season 2 of Arrow where they had to introduce metahumans.
Yes.
And I always thought they did not as good a job as they could have. It was just kind of weird. Like, it was like, and I understand why it was weird, but and I think Marvel managed it better when they had to introduce sort of mystical, weird elements to. I always thought, like, the first Iron Man and the first season and a half of Arrow, they tried to keep it as relatively grounded as possible. So Iron Man's quite a crazy concept, but it's ultimately, if you buy into the fact that he's super smart and he's got the money to do whatever he wants, the technology is relatively understandable and the technology is believable. But then you had to then bring in Thor and like mystical hammers and shit. And I think obviously you then had in Arrow, there was the same thing where they had to introduce Barry Allen as there was that awesome 2-parter in Arrow season 2 where they introduce Barry Allen and then have to finish that episode off with, we're going to strike him by lightning and give him superpowers. It was just a total change in pace and tone for the series. So in my comic, I'm hoping that I can raise the stakes, because by issue 5 and 6, you're looking, there's going to be a big, huge battle that's going to, the winner will be able to decide the fate of like the universe. And I'm hoping that I can scale the story enough that doesn't become an unbelievable stretch of the imagination.
I know what you mean. Yeah. You don't want people to get to episode 5 and go, what the fuck just happened there? But okay. Yeah.
I know. As I say, some folk manage it, some folk don't. But yeah, that was I always thought the Arrowverse managed to not manage that quite as well. There was a weird. I think they sorted it out later on, but there was a weird thing where like you had Oliver Queen all of a sudden like delving into magic and shit, and you're like, no, he was. That's not what this show was. Like 3 or 4 years ago, you know.
I find with those shows, I really enjoy them when I watch them. But if I stop and think about it logically, think about it, I go, this show's actually really dumb. Why do I like it?
Well, I before
I loved it at the time. Who gives a shit?
Before I did the Brewgooders, I used to have 4 or 5 years ago, I used to have a podcast. It's where I met Colin, because actually I interviewed Colin for my older podcast. And then that, due to career changes and stuff, we had to shut that podcast down. But that podcast had started out as podcast. I've said the word podcast an awful lot. That podcast started out as a review show. So we basically, I think it was when Flash season 2 started, and I think it was maybe Arrow season 3 or 4. It was when and Supergirl season 1. It's when they all started to run. So you would do like Monday this, Tuesday that, Wednesday this, Thursday, and we effectively were we met on a Friday morning, Friday afternoonish to review the shows that we'd seen in the week to build up. And if you, like you say, when you stop when you overthink it, it does total pull away from your enjoyment somewhat. Because and then I'm on my lockdown rewatch is The Flash, and season 1 and 2 are excellent. Whereas I remember not enjoying season 2. Season 1
finale is one of the greatest.
Oh, it's quality
TV.
I think season 2 is brilliant until maybe the baddie reveal, when they reveal like who Zoom really is. That total annoyed me because I think they fixed it by the end of the season, but it did annoy me because I was like, oh no, you're doing exactly the same as you did last year, and then that became a plot point, so it was fine. So it was like. But,
did you have you been watching Batwoman as well?
No, because I had kids. There's a weird thing where about I want to say my telly got hijacked by my current 4-year-old by about 2 years ago, and I've not seen any telly since then. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't see television until my daughter's gone to bed. Other than that, it's Mickey Mouse Clubhouse all day, every day.
I have a running joke. I don't know if Tom's seen it on my Facebook. He's not got my wife on Facebook, so he's maybe not seen it. I've got a running joke with my wife. I've seen episode 1 of season 1 of just about everything, because I'm a total telly addict. So I probably adore telly. Like I could sit and watch loads of stuff, but I also enjoy spending time with my wife. So what I'll try and do is enjoy. I think the basic rule of thumb is I'll enjoy it, so we have to find something my wife enjoys so that we can both enjoy it together. But it does mean that she doesn't like lots of things. She won't mind me saying that. And actually, if she heard that back, she'd laugh. I have seen seasons 1 of what have I watched over lockdown? Just the first episode. On the night of, have you heard that? Or the night of, it's called. It's a pretty cool series. Only ever been to see episode 1. It's cool. So it's like you check that out on the night of, or the night of, I think it's called. It's a pretty cool series. I did watch the first half an hour of Batgirl, but my wife was like, "Don't do this to me." Loads of things. I had to total grind through. Did you watch Normal People on BBC? Quality show. My wife hated it by about episode 4. I was like, no, right, we're not doing this again. Like the episodes are 24 minutes long. Just let me get to the end of the series, and we managed. All those things. There's that show that you really like, Tom, because I remember you talking about it with James Spader in it.
Oh, The Blacklist. Yes.
Yeah. Watched episode 1 of that, and she was like, this is really far fetched. So we did it.
It's not. Yeah, you got to give these things a chance. You got to give these things time. You know what I mean? The story's just building. It's an unbelievable series. Blacklist is incredible, in my opinion.
You just going like that. I tried to make her watch Lucifer.
That's fantastic as well.
Then she realised it was a comic book thing and was like, no thanks. And the one I'm going to have to go back to because I absolutely adored it. We watched the first episode of the thing with Al Pacino in it. What's with the Nazis? It's called Hunters.
I've heard about this. I need to watch this.
Yeah, we watched the first half of it.
Yeah.
It was excellent. My wife was like, "Yeah, I wanted this to be," because there is loads of programs on the telly about genuine folk going around trying to like investigate random old people in their village to find out that they're Nazis and stuff. So I think she thought it was going to be like a dramatization of that, but it wasn't. It was kind of like a far-fetched. It is quite far-fetched actually, and it could quite easily be a comic book series. So, but yeah, aye. What have you guys been watching during lockdown?
Well, Laura's managed to smash through Glitch in 2 days. That's the Australian series on Netflix about the people that come back from the dead, but they're not zombies, they're actual human beings. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? They're like from like years and years and centuries ago, and there's people from like 10 years. It's actually amazing. I thought it was I have not watched it properly, but from what I've seen, it's awesome. So I mentioned on the podcast last week to Westy, actually, just saying like I'm quite intrigued by it. Westy, go watch it. It's fucking mint.
Is it really good? I do want to watch it. It did sound good.
It's really good, yeah.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. It's just set in Australia, and people start to come back, and there's like a thing called the border. So if they start to reach that border, they start to die again. So they have to come back. It's amazing. It's so good. Yeah. So that's on Netflix. I've been watching a lot of John Oliver on Now TV because I find him funny as fuck. He's currently having a massive dispute with Dana White at the moment with the UFC. I don't know if you've seen that in the news.
I haven't. I know he likes his UFC and he likes his wrestling, doesn't he? Like was he not really critical of? He's not really critical of Vince McMahon last year.
Yeah, I remember watching that. It was absolutely amazing.
He's got a really. I don't know if you've seen that, Tom. He's got a really cool monologue, just basically about the fact that he won't let the WWE guys unionize.
Okay.
It's pretty smart, and how he still hires WWE guys. You know, if you work for the WWE, your legal working status is that you're an independent contractor, but you're contracted independently to only work for one organization. So, yeah, which in basically any other industry is totally wrong, but somehow WWE have managed to do it forever. So, you should check that out, man. Particularly John Oliver's, I agree with you. He's a total legend.
He is a hero. But if you can find the disputes with Dana White, they're fucking hilarious.
So is he genuinely falling out with Dana? Because I always thought.
So basically, he was talking about Dana White wants to create Fight Island, doesn't he, and have UFC fights on an island somewhere. I think it's near Dubai or something. And he wants to call it Fight Island, and then. Basically, he called it Fight Island. John Oliver was like, "We want to call it Fight Island." He goes, "Why don't you call it UFC?" So SEA at the end. So I was like, "That's absolutely genius." And he came up with all these names, like smashed them out after one. So Dana White went, "Okay," so he copyrighted UFC, SEA, copyrighted it straight away. And John Oliver was like, "All right, okay," because that's my idea that you just copyrighted. He went, so he took a sentence that Dana White used to say back in the early 2000s and copyrighted that. I think it's like "come on, bitches" or something. And he started putting on mugs and scarves and stuff. Like, absolutely phenomenal. Anyone listen to this, go and watch John Oliver on Now TV. It's called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. It's fucking brilliant.
That's amazing that he's. I don't know what it is. I do like John Oliver. I watched him. He was in Community, and I really liked him. But it's similar like James Corden. Like, these guys have become absolute like sensations in the States, and I'm not saying they weren't popular over here, but the fact that they managed to when they talk about breaking America, and you find all these people that have tried and failed. Like,
I mean, James Corden massively surprises me, massively. He's all right. I like him in some. I liked him on A League of Their Own on Sky One, but other than that, like, I don't watch Gavin Stacey or anything. I'm just not a big fan.
He is. That's why James Corden. Gavin Stacey, he is an ace in that. Like, and actually, I don't necessarily like him on anything else, but in Gavin and Stacey, he's perfect for that show.
Yeah. You know him
and Ruth Jones is phenomenal as well. Actually,
what was that, Jamie?
I only know him from A League of Their Own and Gavin and Stacey. What else did he do? Then he just suddenly broke in America. I don't get where the fuck that come from.
He did Lesbian Vampire Person.
I tried to forget that happened.
That's why he was
Kane's got to watch that.
And then cheers.
Okay. That was you might be right. I actually will probably have to look. I've seen him in films and stuff, but yeah, he is he is a ginormous talent in the States, and like that's what it's totally surprised me when I was like, well, and that whole carpool karaoke thing, like that's just, and maybe it's just it was just a niche concept that is just totally taken off. But like,
fucking brilliant idea though.
Yeah. He did. Well, he did a really awesome wee sketch for Comic Relief, which I think strictly speaking, is the first Carpool Karaoke. I don't know if you see it. You need to watch it. He's in Toke Smithy character, and it's him and the guy from George Michael, the guy from.
I have seen that. Yes, yeah. I have seen that.
And it's awesome, and there's some really. I mean, give George Michael, God bless George Michael, rest in peace in that. Like, George Michael takes it really tight off of James Corden. There's even a line where it's like. Lenny Henry, who's representing Comic Relief, phones James Corden's Smithy character for help, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be there in a minute. I'm just in the car with a friend," and it's George Michael's his mate in the car, and he's like, George Michael's like, "What's that?" And James Corden's like, "Oh, I'm off to go and help. I just need to go stop by Comic Relief and help them out for something." And George Michael's like, "Can I come with you?" And he's like, "No, Comic Relief is folk like you, George." And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. It's a great, again, on YouTube, 9 minutes. It's probably like a 9 or 10 minute sketch where it's just really clever done though. And George Michael takes like a total champ when he's getting like ripped for being a drunken like buffoon. It's amazing.
Right. What we like to do with our guests is we have a couple of things. We like to get your thoughts and opinions on our previous episode in case we judged it wrong. And then we've got some fantasy fights of our own to put to you to see what you think. Okay. So last episode was 11 versus Captain Cold. 11 from Stranger Things. Now, who do you think would win in that fight?
Right. Big Flash fan. I'm part of a weird group of folk in Dunfermline who currently run around our town dressed as superheroes to like wave at children and stuff. Yeah, and I am the Dunfermline Flash. So I'm a big fan of the Flash, right? And I love Wentworth. Is it just Captain Cold as a concept, or is it Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold?
It's Captain Cold as a concept.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Wentworth Miller. Maybe if it was his interpretation of Captain Cold, maybe we might have taken 11. But the actual Captain Cold from the comics is a total loser. Like he's a goon, to be honest. I think 11 is just awesome, and she beat the shit out of everybody. To be honest, I think 11 smashes Captain Cold quite easily. Actually,
see, the way we justified it, because both of them have decent powers. So the way we justified it was who would actually start a fight here? Who's going to start a fight? Captain Cold or his little girl? So we kind of justified it that way because we were thinking about. I think most of that last episode for the fight is us going, you know. So in the end, we decided Captain Cold won. But
did you? I haven't actually. I was saying this to you before.
Nope.
I mean, he's put the most beautiful face.
I was going to say, as long as he's not just frozen for me.
Geoff.
Oh, he's back. Hello.
I did just give like a total amazing monologue on the values of why I think you guys are wrong, but you know, my connection. No, sorry, I had a connection issue there. No, my conclusion was that I just wanted to say that I'm quite surprised that was a conclusion you came to. I think
because I came in and beat him up first, but then he froze me, and obviously so that because she's in that sensory deprivation thing, I went into his head. But because I was thinking of because I don't read comics, I read comics, but not that frequently. So I was thinking of the Wentworth Miller character, who was an absolute complete prick. So I was like, well, there's no chance of to talk to him. So
that's what I was going to say. That is exactly what I said. That if it was the Wentworth Miller interpretation of Captain Cold, which is quite at odds with the comic version. The comic version, as I say, the comic version of Captain Cold is very much. He's almost slightly comic relief in terms of like he's a. Which I don't know. I love the Wentworth Miller interpretation of Captain Cold.
I do.
He's fabulous, and he's one of those weird things like where you know the whole thing about Nick Fury being white until Samuel L. Jackson played him, and now in the comics he's black.
Yeah.
If you read the more sort of recent interpretations of Captain Cold and the more recent series like Flash series, he is more like the Wentworth Miller one because it's an amazing way to play him. It's like he took all the values and all the sort of nice character traits that exist within like that sort of Leonard Snart character, and then just decided I'm going to just play him like this because it's still the same character in essence, but There's amazing. I just watched it, and it's the only reason I'll bring it up. I just watched that Captain Cold episode where he was introduced, and there's a really quality bit where Cisco, they bring out this gun that basically he brings out this weird kind of particle gun that's basically like, stop doing what you're doing now, Captain Cold, or bad things will happen. And he just puts his gun down, and he puts his gun in his pocket, and he walks away. He's like, fair enough. And he's walking away. They're like, and now put your cold gun down. And he's walking away. He's just like, don't push your luck. and they don't challenge him. They just let him go because it's like maybe we've pushed as far as we can. But I disagree with your conclusion. I think 11 is just one of the coolest creations in modern telly, and I think she's I think
badass.
I think she would take that fight quite easily. You said the sense deprivation thing. I think she would. Yeah. I think unless he got a shot on her and froze her, I think he's got no chance.
Yeah, I'm annoyed at myself now.
I'm not. Right. So, should we have some fantasy fights? These are wonderful. It's basically what we do on the show, but a quick fire round as such. So the first two are sent in by Graham Arnold, who is our favourite person on the planet. So it's the Battle of the Marthas. Martha Kent versus Martha Wayne.
I think Martha Kent quite easily.
Ooh. Just for reason.
What I think my understanding of Martha, I don't know, like this is weird. Like I never thought I would be doing the fantasy bar fights with you. Which is quite amazing. I'm really privileged to be doing so. I feel privileged to do so. My understanding of Martha Wayne is that she's not a necessarily strong character.
No,
like she's fine, and obviously she was a good mother for Bruce for the 11 years of her life that she featured. But Martha Wayne is an ongoing. I don't know, because it's a physical fight as well. Yeah. And obviously, Martha Kent, her qualities are often about how she grounds Clark and Superman, and reminds him of who he is and where he comes from, both as Superman and as Clark. She's apart from Lois, one of the stronger women in the DC universe. I think she's awesome, and I feel really bad that there was that whole like Save Martha thing that happened in Batman versus Superman, because
such ridiculous
it's so cringy. Actually, it is so cringy, but the whole idea of it, I think, is quite sound. But you don't get enough of Martha Wayne in that film to make that whole thing.
I saw what they were trying to do, but I was like, no, you could have gone about that so much better.
That's what they're trying to do. And if you saw a wee bit more, if they'd done maybe a couple more flashbacks to Martha Wayne being a strong influence on Bruce, then maybe I think Martha Kent, she's a farm girl. She lives on the farm, so she's used to getting doing things with her hands. Yes. Whereas Martha Wayne, I think, is from money and is in money up until her death. And so she has like Alfred and that doing shit for her. So
that was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, farm girl versus woman that has everything done for her.
Yeah. So she's more like a socialite, isn't she? Because it's even within the Batman mythos and the Batman history, it's Thomas that is the money. It's his work in Wayne Enterprises that brings in the money, where she's more of a socialite. So I don't know, unless she's doing like kickboxing classes and stuff like that. I think based on the evidence, Martha Kent gets it.
Love it. Now this one isn't a fist fight. This one is a verbal fight. So who wins in this argument? Gordon Ramsay or Bricktop from Snatch?
Well, that's easy. I love Gordon Ramsay, and actually that show he does with Gino DeCampo and Fred from.
It's watched that from First Dates, yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy from First Dates. They do a thing where they go on tour together, and it shouldn't work, but it's absolutely hilarious. I can't remember what it's called though. I'll need to Google it. But no, I don't think. It's a difficult one because actually both their lines are scripted. I think Gordon Ramsay. I think a lot of his stuff is show, whereas if you're looking at the character of the guy from Snatch, I think he wins it in verbals because he's just really funny, and actually it's the best thing in Snatch, and it's a really good film. So
I love Bricktop. Yeah. I can confirm that Gordon Ramsay is a twat in real life as well.
I always remember one where he was giving a girl, he was getting really, really angry in her face. I think it was on a kitchen, Hell's Kitchen. And he was right in her face, and he was in her personal space. He was shouting at her, and she raised her hand to him, and somebody caught it. I don't know if it was him or somebody else caught it, and he just looked at her and was like, "Don't be stupid." And I was like, fairness, man, in any other situation in reality, like, you would be getting a punch for the way you're speaking to people, you know. And I always really annoyed me. And I think he I watched that show, and I really like him in that show where he goes around with Gino and Fred. But I often feel like even just the way he delivers his lines, they're not real. And whereas I totally Britpop and Snatch, even though those are officially scripted lines.
Yeah.
Great. Where did you guys have it?
Oh, I said Britpop as well.
Yeah.
I've never seen Snatch, so I can't come.
Oh, it's good, man. Jason Statham, before he became Jason, like, it's just cool. It's a cool film. All those kind of films, like the old sort of early. Who did Snatch?
Trying to remember his name. Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. All the early Guy Ritchie stuff and the Neil Marshall stuff, and I know Neil Marshall has never reached the heights of Guy Ritchie. And who else is British? Who did Trainspotting again? Danny Boyle. I love these early films where, like, it's full of guys that are either sort of on the descent of their fame to some extent, or guys on the ascent. And obviously Snatch is amazing because Jason is. I'm remembering Snatch correctly. Jason Statham's in, isn't he? But it's before he became
him and Brad Pitt are in it.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's character is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
I just imagine Gordon Ramsay calling him an idiot sandwich and him just going, "Fuck off, you cunt," and headbutting him or something, you know.
Yeah, I agree. That was an easy one.
Monster battle this time. Godzilla versus the Megazord from the Power Rangers.
Godzilla.
Oh, he answered that quickly.
Yeah,
very disappointed.
I could. Well, the Megazords. I'm a bit of a Power Ranger geek. Sorry. The Megazord gets the Megazord gets its arse handed to it all the time. The whole thing about the Megazord is, like, they have to come up with a new strategy, and usually it means, like, every year them changing the Megazord so that it just happens to be a bit more powerful. Whereas Godzilla he never changes, and he's awesome. And if he's getting his ass handed to him, he just, like, I really like that. Did you watch what was the new film called with him?
King of Monsters.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's a quality film. And it's not reviewed all the time very well. But if you go in and just go with it, it's great. And the girl that plays Eleven's in it, and she's brilliant in it as well.
I really like the new Godzilla films.
Yeah, I really like that one. There's that awesome scene where she is just a great actress, but there's a bit where and they obviously got her on the strength of Stranger Things, and went, like, we need this girl in the film. But there's a really awesome bit where King Ghidorah is, like, tearing shit up in Philadelphia, and then you hear Godzilla's roar, and she turns around, and just her face is just incredible. She has this. She's terrified, obviously, because she's been running away from King Ghidorah, who's like a 3-headed dragon, for like 20 minutes, and she's shitting herself. But she turns around and she hears Godzilla, and she's just got this amazing, not sarcastic, just like a sneer and a grin, because she knows that, like, Godzilla is back, and he's gonna. And that music, that boom, 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 that plays, and you're like, this is fucking great. Have you seen the King of Monsters, Tom?
Nope.
Oh man, it's so good. It's great. They managed to put Mothra in there. Mothra's a giant moth, and they managed to make her not be shit in a film.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, actually. Now, last one, which I think you two should have some fun with. Triple threat match. Boris Johnson.
Please.
Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, Nicola Sturgeon.
Oh, that's an easy one as well.
Yeah.
Nicola wins it.
Madame Sturgeon's got that all day.
Yeah. I love that you call her Mad. I've seen you call her, like, Mrs. Sturgeon or and stuff like that on some of your stuff on Facebook, Tom. There's a weird thing up in Scotland that we call her Nicola. Like she's just a lass. She's a girl that lives in the town. Like, oh, it's our Nicola. But that's a really Scottish thing anyway. But I think she's really good at she's really good at. She's a really clever lady, I think. And I don't know. I can honestly put my hand up and say I haven't voted SNP before as well, but I really like her. But obviously her politics and her as a person I can separate slightly. And I think she's a really good leader, and particularly in this crisis, she's been great in the COVID crisis, which is why I think she'd also win the fight, because before she was First Minister and before she was Deputy First Minister, she was Minister of, she was in the Cabinet, she was Minister of Health for Scotland. So Scotland's really unhealthy, all right, because we have our deep fried Mars bars and our iron brew and like chronic alcoholism, and we had the underage pregnancy capital of Europe for a long time up in Dundee. So she's had to deal with in her time in office in that particular post. She's had to deal with a lot of crisis, but also I think because of that health aspect of her job, she knows where to like hit you to take you down and keep you down. She knows like you're like fucking ninja. Like if she catches you in the back of the knee, you'll go down and stay down. I think Donald Trump, probably of the three of them, looks more like he is engaged in the more unhealthy aspects of the Scottish diet. I know he spends a lot of time in Scotland, but when I say I go back to like deep fried Mars bars and alcoholism and stuff, I always think Donald Trump looks like he's one binge away from like keeking and dying. And Boris Johnson's a Tory and he can't fight, so I don't think Tories know how to use their fists. I think they just because they've never had to. It's the Martha Wayne argument again.
So Boris Johnson was waffle on absolute shit for hours on end to do fucking nothing about anything. Donald Trump will stand there and be like, we're the best thing ever. We're the greatest of the great. And when the greatest ever would take over here, we're the best thing ever. And he's just not a cunt, and I hope he dies anyway. And Sturgeon's an absolute legend. Sturgeon was coming there and she was fucking clean house, mate. She won't even get touched.
Have you watched you seen Janie Godley on Facebook?
No.
She's your favourite thing ever. She's what she does is she pulls the audio out of Nicola Sturgeon speeches and then like dubs them over herself. But like she's always talking about like, right, I've told you, fucking stop it. She's great. You need to watch that stuff, man. It's brilliant. I think that's a really easy one. Nicola Sturgeon wins that hands down quite easily. I think the other two boys are. I think they're. She's got youth on her side, but also the other two boys are. The other two boys are just. I think they're all baw. Here's a Scottish line for you. They're all baw and they shaw. I think they talk the talk and they waffle a bit, but I think when it came down to actually getting like into a scrap, she would have them easy.
Yeah.
Right. Last one, because you are a comic guy. This one we had some fun with this one with our last person we gave this one to. Poison Ivy versus Groot.
Versus Groot. I think Groot. I think Poison Ivy is a great character, and actually, particularly in the comics, she's doing really. They're touching on it now with like the Harley Quinn TV series, but she's got a really. I love Harley Quinn in the comics. I despise most interpretations of her. Obviously, I don't really like the Margot Robbie interpretation, and I didn't like what that did to Comic Cons for a couple of years back, where it was like.
And every Halloween,
there's this over-sexualized character because there is obviously her sexuality is a big part of Harley Quinn, but I think it's when she's not round the Joker and she's actually been she's a really damaged character, and her mental health is explored quite a lot in the comics, but particularly her relationship with Poison Ivy is phenomenal. I think Poison Ivy is she's a really strong physical character, but she struggles a lot with her mental health, and that's quite thematic in the TV series and in the current Harley Quinn TV series, but particularly in the in comics. She's a really good character, and it's lovely. I really totally recommend anyone checking out some of the stuff that she does with Harley Quinn. And there was a really awesome series that came out last year called Heroes in Crisis, which basically talked about a top secret facility where superheroes could go and treat their PTSD, which was a really smart. It's a really cool series, and actually it does some really controversial stuff with the Wally West Flash character. I totally recommend it. It's a really cool series. But Harley Quinn's a main character in it, and her relationship with Poison Ivy is explored quite a lot. I think I don't want to say too much because I actually don't know too much about the over. I love reading about the relationship. I think it's a romantic one in some versions of the story, but I think Poison Ivy is a strong character, but she's also very, very human. Whereas obviously Groot isn't; he's an alien. And I think there's a morality and I don't want to use the word weakness because it's not the right word, but there's a vulnerable element to Poison Ivy that I don't think exists in Groot. My favourite bit in the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, or one of my favourite bits is when all the guys rushed him and you think, oh fuck, here's another fight, and he just does that with his arms and then like he totally smashes them against the walls. Yes. And he turns around and smiles. I think Groot's a really good character, and obviously there's I actually haven't read any Guardians of the Galaxy comics, so I'm totally my Groot analysis is based purely on how he's interpreted in the film. And I know there's a whole thing about We Are Groot, and there's a whole thing about him being really, like I know in the Infinity War, he's like the joke is he's a total selfish like teenager who's like playing computer games when all the shit's going on. But I think he's a stronger character in terms of he doesn't give as much a shit as Poison Ivy does. So I think he would win the fight simply because he's brutal and she's not.
I'm with you.
Nice.
I'll go with that. Wonderful.
You said that before. What was the verdict the last time?
What did Thomas say? Won. He said that Poison Ivy would have won because she controls plants and all that sort of stuff. So she would have had some sort of power over him because it's a tree essentially, isn't it? Alien tree. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's a good. Oh yeah.
That's the road he went down on.
No, cool. That's interesting. That's why I actually love your show, because like it's an amazing ground for debate, and that's why I really enjoy it. I did, like I said, like I purely went on character and how that would drive action, but obviously,
there's many avenues. That's why we ask these questions, because there's so many avenues you can go down. People go, "Fuck it, I didn't think of that."
Yeah, so. Was it a point like where you suggested that like actually the manipulation and the element? I mean, I didn't even think of her powers. I thought, all right, so she's got plant-based powers, but then actually, like, and you've seen it in the comics, if Poison Ivy's fucking raging, then she's got the strength to end worlds, So yeah. Awesome.
Well, Geoff, thank you so fucking much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
I'm sorry if I talked at you for too long.
We love it.
This is the point. This is the whole point. Exactly. You don't want to hear. We talk enough anyway. So
the listeners have got another hour of us. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
cool. Before we go, plug all of your stuff, mate. The podcast, the comic, everything. Oh, yeah. Tell us where we can find you.
I tried to make sure everything's got an @ for it, so you can find most of my stuff on. So the Brewgooders, my podcast, we're the dynamic duo of beers and comics at the Brewgooders on Facebook or on Google or Instagram and Twitter. If you just the Brewgooders, you'd find us quite easily. And the Spirit of Enki is the same. So Enki is Enki. He is the old Mesopotamian god of water. So yeah, if you can get through if you type in Spirit of Enki and you can get through all the weird Wikipedia pages about him, you will find the Facebook links in that there.
And it was the spiritofenki.bigcartel.com
or something. I actually probably should have prepared that before I could hear. If you Google the Spirit of Enki and then Big Cartel, you'd probably find it. I'm on all social media with both my projects, so you would be able to find both of them, I think.
Wonderful. And when we post this episode, we'll post all the links on our pages anyway.
I'll type it in there.
But yeah,
awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. We had a good laugh.
Thank you for having me. I love to just chat shit. So
yeah, it's been fun, man.
You guys have got one of the best podcasts for that format. So
you beautiful man, you.
Stop it, you.
No, don't stop it. Keep going. Keep going.
All right, is this thing on?
Well, howdy doody, everybody.
This is Braden Berry from Say We Can Fly, founder of Stay Cozy Clothing, your one-stop shop for the coziest, most fashionable hoodies, t-shirts, and more.
Gosh, Mickey. That's right, folks. And we're proud to say that we are now sponsoring
the Chronicles of Podcast. Ouch.
Hosted by Tom and Jamie.
Like, you can get 10% off, man! That's right, Shaggy! Just use the special code, The Chronicles, at checkout.
Oh, boy!